All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started so that we have a good full hour here. We're super excited to welcome HomeStreet Bank today. We have Jeanette Gill, who's an Affinity lending officer with HomeStreet Bank. She's one of the great officers who would work with you if you potentially explore using your benefit with HomeStreet to purchase a home or a condo. Today, we're going to talk about, it's kind of an introductory webinar for buying a condo, what that looks like. I'd just like to remind you all, we are recording. It might take about a week, but we will share that recording with you. It'll get added to the whole YouTube as well. If you have questions throughout, you know, we're all here. We're pretty chill with each other. You can go ahead and send them in the chat. I'll keep an eye on that. We'll answer throughout. We'll have time at the end as well. If you have your own specific question you want to ask, just raise your hand. I'll keep an eye out for that as well. Jeanette, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to you and let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Anna. Welcome, you guys. Thank you. I really appreciate you taking your beautiful sunny day for a whole hour with me, but I'm hoping to provide you with a lot of information. So welcome. Thank you so much. This seminar today is about buying a condo. I am, like Anna had mentioned, I am Jeanette Gill with HomeStreet Bank. I am your certified Affinity loan officer. I will be mentioning this towards the end, but as you're aware that if you would like to utilize your University of Washington benefit, you do have to work with an Affinity loan officer, which you should, when you actually go and see, when you talk to a HomeStreet Bank loan officer, you have to make sure that they do say that they're an Affinity lending loan officer. And there's my face, and here I am live. So what I'm going to go through is basically, I've already went through my introduction, pros and cons of condo ownership, what makes purchasing a condo different, financing a condo, and really it's a first-time home buyer checklist towards the end, making sure that you meet all of the criteria when making your first purchase towards a condo. We'll go ahead and talk about when you guys have questions, I'll help you answer those with the checklist as well. What is a condo? A condo is typically it's shared wall units. So it really is where you may think that they're apartments, however you own them. There are detached condos. There's also not just shared walls, but there's also homes that they look like single family residence, but they are condominiums. Condos, they can have, there could be high-rise condos, they could be low-rise condos, but they are a lot different than single family residence. You don't typically own your land, you just owned your unit that you are purchasing. How is it different other than a single family home? Well, like I said, you do share your walls within the condos, and versus a single family resident, you are purchasing more of your land in addition to the structure for the single family home. And the prices tend to be a little bit more expensive as well. But if depending on the area where you purchase your condo, sometimes condo purchase prices are a little bit less and affordable for you versus a single family resident, and especially the location. If you want to purchase a condo in a specific location, downtown Seattle, for example, there's no single family residence there. However, they would just be condos over there. So moving on. So basically, I'm going to read off the pros and cons of condo ownership, but you can actually see here the pros of condo ownership is location. Location is where you want to buy. So you can go to purchase a single family resident in a rural area versus a condo, and you can have that in a city. You can also purchase a condo in a rural area as well, but more than likely, a lot of times people like to purchase condos because they like to be within a certain vicinity, like in a certain area. And also a lot of times it's affordability, like I had mentioned prior to. A lot of times condos are a little bit cheaper than single family residents. But I will move on to the fact of there is a con, because homeowner dues could actually be a little bit expensive as well. Um, so the cons of purchasing a condo is that sometimes when you buy a condo, you don't own the land. So you're only owning your structure. So with that being said, it's just the common wall area, the shared wall of what you actually own. And then another disadvantage as well could be where you are reselling your condo. There could be um, special assessments. Let's just say that there's a roof that needs to be fixed, and the homeowners association um, added a special assessment to get a roof fixed, or and the assessment goes up, and the resale part of that condo, nobody, they don't want to resell that. Also, it also could be where there was a judgment or a lien that was against the condo, and that other financer would not be able to finance that condo just because of the resale restrictions on that property as well. So that's the con of the condo owner, the condo part of it. Moving on, there's probably more pros and cons. Security, yes, having neighbors around makes it a lot easier. They could watch out for um, they can watch out for your home since they're like really literally next door. Um, they low maintenance, that's for sure. That's 100% for sure. A lot of times people don't want to worry about their lawn. They don't want to worry about it's what else is there? There's a lot more to it. However, it is very, very low maintenance. Actually, like plumbing or electrical, it's basically everything that has to do with the homeowners association, contacting them as well. So there's not a lot of maintenance on your end to do. So if you don't really want that much stress against you, then it is low maintenance. The con of that is going back to security and having neighbors, but then also community living. That's a con because you're also around a lot of people, and it's kind of like if you're in a condo that's not very many units, it's like Cheers, where you walk in and it's like norm. So that's the thing about community living as well, is that you just have to actually you really know a lot of people around your area and stuff. So the fees for monthly condo fees, that's where a con could be, is your homeowners association dues. Now you could have a low price condo and purchase that. However, the HOA dues could be very expensive. And the reason being is that there could be a lot of maintenance and work that needs to be done to the condo. So the association dues are quite high. Also, another thing is that there could be a lot of common areas. There could be a pool, there could be a barbecue area. They have to upkeep that. So the higher the dues are is because there's more around the area, and more amenities for that condo as well. So that could be very expensive with the fees and such. Okay, so moving on to what makes purchasing a condo different. But before I do that, I did go over quite a bit here. Does anybody have any questions? I know that I had mentioned that well, actually, Anna said that we'll see if anybody has their hand raised. If there's any questions, I'll break for a few seconds here because they may have some questions. Does anybody have any questions, Anna?
So far, no hand raises and nothing in the chat. So I'll keep an eye on it and let you know if we get something.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so moving on to what makes purchasing a condo different. There's quite a bit because it really depends on, mentioned here, it says, is the community new, established, or conversion? So when a condo is converted, that could be a financing, not difficulty, but it could be where when your condo is converted from one thing to another, it's just more determination on, how was it converted, if the, and how was it established, and with the community being new, there's public offering statements, there's certifications, and there's making sure that the condo department in the financing world reviews all of that documentation and make sure that it is financeable after it's been established, or if it's in or if it's been converted. So it all depends, moving on to the whole earnest money agreement. So when you go and make an offer on a home, or I'm sorry, on a condo, we do obtain all of that documentation, from the public offering statement to the resale certification, and review the documentation to make sure that it is financeable under different financings of conventional, FHA, VA, and so forth. So those are the things that it's not more of you as a home buyer that has to look deep into that. It's your realtor that works with the lender, and the lender then makes sure that the condo is financeable before you make an offer on that property. That's what the earnest money agreement is for as well. So when you do make an offer on a condo and you do obtain all of that documentation, you as a home buyer also are supposed to be reviewing. You do have a certain amount of days on your purchase and sale contract that states that you do have like 7 or I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's like a 7-day period of where you have to review all of your documentation as well. And an earnest money agreement is basically your good faith money that you put into that condo when you are making an offer on that condo. And so that just gives the seller assurance that you're interested in that property, but that's the seller saying, hey, here you go. Here's all the documentation about my condo. And, then we actually review all of that, for you. Homeowners Association, it is great to know like how long it's been established, how the dues factor in for qualifying ratios. That's more of, you can get qualified for the condo itself for a low purchase price. However, the HOA dues are considered a monthly reoccurring debt. So it is it's a debt that is kind of like, it doesn't go away. So we have to combine that into your ratio. So if you are qualified for a $500,000 condo, however, the HOA dues is about $700 a month, and that does not, it doesn't really, it doesn't, I guess I should say, doesn't fit within your income ratio, you would not be qualified for that, because of the fact that the HOA dues is taking your debt to income ratio over the max qualifying for your lending. So that would be something that us as a lender would look into that for you. So to make sure that you are qualified for that condo. But it is tough, because in the beginning, initially, when we don't know how much the HOA dues are, we tend to overestimate on the HOA dues depending on the area of where you're looking to buy. The value difference between units, owner occupied and investment rentals. So when you go out there and you purchase a condo, there is a certain percentage that the condo could have non-owner occupied properties or within that condo. So they can own a certain amount of condos depending on, how many units are there. So if you are looking at purchasing a condo, the occupancy on that condo complex has a big determination whether or not it is financeable or not, depending on if there's investors out there that are, the percentage is higher on non-owner occupied or renters renting out that condo as well. Does anybody have any questions on that?
We've gotten a few questions so far.
Perfect.
The first one and two kind of tie together. Can you just mention briefly kind of the difference between a condo and a co-op, and then also a townhome, kind of the differences between them?
So a condo and a co-op, so we don't actually do co-op financing. So I can't really kind of tell you that much about it, but if you want more detail into it, I know that we don't actually finance co-ops. However, and I apologize that I wasn't able to answer that question for you. But the difference between a condo and a townhome is that a townhome, you actually maintenance more because they're more considered as a single family resident as well. And their homeowners association dues are a lot less because you actually have to maintain a little bit more on a townhome. You have to take care of your yard, you have to take care of your electrical, your plumbing. Sometimes townhomes are in a planned unit development. So it's kind of like a cul-de-sac, and the HOA due probably just takes care of just like a patch of grass and a sign for your planned unit development. Not necessarily our townhomes shared walls. So like I said, they're basically like single family residents. Hopefully that was able to answer your question.
Yeah, thanks, Jeanette. Another question we got is there any way of knowing if there are pending special assessments at a building with condos on the market? Like, are there any publicly accessible websites to kind of see that information?
There's not necessarily public websites. It's more of your realtor, your representing real estate agent that represents you, that talks to the listing agent, because the listing agent represents the seller, and the seller should have all of that information for you up front. So before you make that offer on that condo, there is communication between realtors to talk to you about that if there is any special assessments or anything going on with the condo.
Okay, and then the last question we had is just what are typical monthly dues? Is there even a typical price range for that?
There is, oh wow, let's see. Actually right now in process, I have a condo that's 600,000, and their HOA dues are about, I think, 453 a month.
All right, thank you.
I know that was actually a specific number. I had that in my head.
Sounds like probably a bit of a range depending on where you're buying and
It
the type of unit.
it really does have to do with that. And like I said, it's just the amenities that are in with the condo. So if there's a swimming pool, a barbecue area, a tennis court, you more than likely know that the HOA, which is homeowners association, they have to take care of that. So that's something that you are paying for as well. And in addition to, if there's something that needs to be fixed, like I said, the roof, you know, they will come together. There's meeting minutes and there's boards that they discuss, and they'll say, okay, throughout the next 5 years, there's going to be a special assessment of X amount of dollars, and this is how much each unit will be charged. And either they can pay it up front or add it to their current HOA dues as an additional monthly payment.
All right, and those are all the questions for now. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so the financing part of the condo, down payment requirements, the type of loan programs, and closing costs and things like that. The down payment requirements is that you can actually purchase a condo utilizing down payment assistance programs, where it's either 0 to minimal 5,000 or less. I say just a range of just bringing in for your cash to close. That is eligible under conventional FHA financing for down payment assistance. That is more of a special program However, it's very detailed. So if you do have more questions on that, I know that we only have an hour, and I could probably talk so much more about that as well. But I do want to let you know that there is a down payment assistance program out there as well, to purchase a condo, as well as FHA financing. Now, let me mention that on a condo, the condo has to specifically say that it is FHA eligible to purchase that condo. And the reason being is that there is certain paperwork that the condo submits to the federal housing government, and they agree and say, yes, this is FHA financeable. And FHA financing, your requirement is that you only have to put 3.5% down. And typically FHA is to help not only first-time home buyers, you can really be a home buyer last week and sold your home and purchase another one. So FHA financing, I want to clear that up, that it's not just for very first-time home buyers. If you have 3.5% down, however, you have a higher credit score, but you just don't have enough funds to put a down payment, you can utilize the FHA financing if you'd like. Also, I'd like to bring that up, where if you're purchasing another home and you currently have one, and your current one is FHA financing, you can't go and have another FHA financing when purchasing another property. Now, newly constructed condos, and your closing costs. Well, I guess it didn't mention on here, I'm not sure why, but there's conventional financing as well. Conventional financing is that if you're within a certain income limit, you can actually put as minimal as 3% down as conventional financing. And that actually depends on, credit and things like that too, but it's a minimal of 3%. But if you're in that range of, you can afford a little bit more, minimal of conventional financing is 5% down, as well as VA financing for condos. They're just like FHA, the condo has to be a VA approved as well. Closing costs really determine whether, you do have to pay for all third-party fees that pertain to, your purchase, as well as there's usually move-in fees for condos. There's transfer fees. Sometimes you have to pay for a couple months of upfront dues, things like that. So those are added all into your closing cost. And at the end of when you want to get pre-approved or you're in contract, we provide a cost breakdown to you to kind of give you an estimate to see all of those fees that pertain to your purchase as well. And also, if you ever wanted to convert from purchasing a condo and you found a home, I do want to bring that up as well. I know this is buying a condo, but we can also do that too. So it's not like just when you apply or you have questions about a condo, you can always ask for any type of properties as well. Is there any questions there, Anna?
Yes, we do have a question. Are there any grant programs for first-time home buyers?
There are, and typically when there are a lot of down payment assistance or grant programs, it's based on income. So you just want to consult with a loan officer and just let them know that you're interested and see if there's any out there. I know of one out there right now where it is a grant program that's a $7,500 grant program, where you typically have to live in the home 3 years, and that grant is actually fully forgiven. You don't have to pay it back. And now when I say down payment assistance is where you do have to pay it back. However, that down payment assistance portion is a second mortgage, is a 0% interest, and you don't actually have to pay it back at the time of when you don't have to pay. Oh my gosh, I just caught myself. You do have to pay it back. However, you don't have to pay it back until at the time of when you sell, transfer title, or refinance out of it. So I do apologize about that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions there?
That is that for that section.
Okay, perfect. All right, so first-time home buyer checklist slash non-first-time home buyer. You could learn more about the home buying process. So to, to be honest with you, I don't think we've rolled out yet just because of the whole pandemic of last year, the home buyer education classes. Just consult with a loan officer, an Affinity loan officer, and we'll go ahead and be able to provide information to you. However, when you actually take a seminar, when we do roll that out, there are first-time homebuyer seminars that we do teach here at HomeStreet Bank, and they're 5-hour seminars. And at the end of the class, you would be receiving a first-time homebuyer certificate that you completed the course. But however, right now we don't. We won't have that right now, but just please consult with a loan officer, and we'll go ahead and walk you through everything and be very detailed. And then we will be able to find if you need to take a first-time homebuyer seminar, because it is actually required on down payment assistance programs, as well as grant programs out there, that you do have to take a seminar. We'll direct you to the correct where to go on where you need to take that as well. So there's a couple of differences here. So I wanted to say getting pre-qualified and getting pre-approved. So pre-qualification is more of just like an estimated number. So if you were to call me up and you said, hey, Jeanette, this is how much I make, this is how much monthly debts I have, what can I afford? That's a pre-qualification. It's kind of just like an estimated number. If you want to really get pre-approved, and yes, a pre-qualification, we're not pulling credit, but pre-approved, you're actually applying, you're getting your credit ran, and your credit report is actually good for 120 days. However, it's a hard-coded number. So we get to see all of your monthly debts, if there's any derogatory items, collections, kind of getting like a hard-coded number so that you can actually go out there and look for a home and you're ready. So that's the difference between getting pre-qualified and getting pre-approved, because a lot of times people do ask that question. If you don't really want your credit ran and you really know what it is and you know all of your debts, and you can really get your number from a loan officer that way too. Making sure you have all the required documentation for your loan officer. So in the beginning, when you actually apply, or get pre-qualified, yes, you do really want to have your 2 months of pay stubs, 2 most recent bank statements, for all accounts, the accounts that you're typically using though for your down payment, that you would like us to verify. I mean, we do want others as well if we need to verify reserves, but mostly the accounts, investments, and retire if you are for your down payment. And I do want to say that if you are withdrawing funds from your retirement, you don't want to do that right away. That's something that's in a process that can happen throughout. Just don't do that in the beginning if you don't need to. Especially also stocks. Stocks are huge right now. You don't want to sell your stocks when you don't know if you're going to actually purchase a home within the next 6 months or so. Copies of W-2s, 2 years tax returns. And yes, if you are self-employed, just know that we do need a little bit additional documentation when you're self-employed versus when you're just a W-2 salaried employee. Any questions there on what's required?
None so far. Oh, one
No.
just came through.
Perfect.
Shannon asks, are the documents listed for pre-approval the standard documents that any bank or loan officer would ask for?
Pretty much. So it starts off with just standard documentation. And then once it's received, then we'll go ahead and ask for additional documentation if we see other things on there that pop up. But for now, you just start off with the pay stubs, the bank statements, the W-2s, and the tax returns. That's just standard of getting your pre-approval or pre-qualification started.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Finding a real estate agent. So when you are working with an Affinity loan officer, the benefit that you actually have working at the University of Washington, in addition to needing a real estate agent is that you receive a 0.5% credit towards your closing cost and your prepaid items if you work specifically with HomeStreet. And that amount, that 0.5% is based on your loan amount. So using whole numbers, if your loan amount is 400,000, you get a $2,000 credit from HomeStreet Bank, and this actually gets deducted. It's all within paperwork. So you'll see on the closing costs, you get charged all this, and then you get a deduction for the credit because you're working with HomeStreet and you work at UW. Now, if you don't have a real estate agent, we also partner up with real estate agents that's part of the Affinity program. And so if you don't have a real estate agent, what they do is that if you choose to work with one of these real estate agents, they will also credit you up to 1% based on sales price. So now going back to whole numbers, which is a lot easier here, is that you found a condo for 500, you put $100,000 down, your loan amount is 400,000. You would get a $5,000 credit from that real estate agent in addition to the $2,000 that you would get working with HomeStreet. So that's about $7,000 in closing cost credits that you would receive. So most or all of your closing costs can be covered utilizing your benefits working at the University of Washington. Now, a lot of times people, I do want to go back to, let's just say, for example, if you decide not to work with HomeStreet, but yet you want to retain that real estate agent is not obligated to give you that discount, and vice versa. So if you do have a real estate agent that you're working with, they're not part of the program, you could always ask a loan officer if they're part of the program, and we'll let you know. But if they're not obligated to give you that discount as well. So it would just be, you would just get the discount from HomeStreet Bank towards the loan. Does anybody have any questions there? Usually sometimes people do have questions there.
Yeah, so one of the questions we got is if you have a spouse who also works for UW, can you both get the credit, or does it only apply once?
It only applies once. So whomever, it wouldn't really matter. It's not double the credit of like 1%.
All right, and so far that's the only question that's come through for that part.
Okay, perfect. Find a home and make an offer. So when you find a home, your agent makes an initial offer. How that works is that you are negotiating with you're negotiating with basically the listing agent and the seller. So you're talking about, these are the terms that I want when I purchase this condo. That you're right now, this market, which I'm sure that everybody's probably wondering what is going on with this market. It is this springtime. So everything out there right now is going over and over the asking initial price of what's being listed. So when you're going back and forth and you're negotiating with the seller, if there's any negotiation room at that time, then you're just letting the sellers know that, hey, I will accept this property. However, these are the terms and conditions on why I shouldn't say that, on me accepting the property. So you guys kind of go back and forth on the negotiating parts of making an offer. But at this time right now, what I have been noticing is that there really is no negotiation at this time. More of times people are just waiving financing, waiving appraisals. And I know that you guys may want to know all of that right now, because that is actually what is happening right now. And that's usually during the spring and summertime, kind of starts dying down. A little bit more inventory does come up. However, there are a lot of times where there's probably one house and there's like 30 offers, but that will change. It's throughout the season. You guys could keep in mind, last year it kind of stopped, right? So it's kind of like the seasons stopped. So the pandemic during spring, and then everybody started looking in the summer, which ended up being our spring, and so forth. So Yeah, so does anybody have any questions on that part? Just because I kind of brought up a little bit about what type of market it is right there, right now.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely always lots of concerns about, we live in a very hot market. No
We
specific
do.
questions so far coming through about that, but thanks for
Okay.
mentioning it.
Okay, perfect. So ordering a home inspection, no, this is not a HomeStreet requirement. You don't have to have an inspection. Um, However, I do want to piggyback on that part of it. If you're utilizing the down payment assistance program, you do have to have an inspection. So I do want to mention that too, because right now with this hot market, like Anna had mentioned, a lot of times people are waiving inspection. However, if you're utilizing the down payment assistance program, you do need to have an inspection. Usually, if you do have an inspection, your realtor will have an inspector that they recommend all the time. And if you have an inspector, you can use them as well too. Typically right now in this type of market, there are pre-inspections done. And so there's a report given to you in the beginning, when you're interested in that home, and then they'll, provide you with the pre-inspection and you can review that as well.
And
However,
I was just curious, so would a pre-inspection also count for those down payment
no,
assistance? Okay.
unfortunately not. No, there has to be, well, it can and it can. Yeah, so that's something that I would actually talk to you guys about offline, because of the fact that there's just a little bit more details into that pre-inspection, and so forth of what's needed for the down payment assistance.
All right. So we have another question here. It says, what are the risks of waiving an inspection and how trustworthy is the inspection provided by the seller?
Oh, you know, um, it's tough because I'm only the financing part of things. It's how you and your realtor actually look at the home, and if you feel really confident about waiving the inspection, because really so you're visually looking at the property. You're not really poking in the walls and seeing if there's any internal issues. But again, if it's a property that you really really want, and that's going to beat the other offers out there by way, if you waive the inspection and they don't, guarantee you'll probably win the offer, because on the seller side, the seller doesn't want to go through the negotiation phase right now. Okay, so this is just because during the springtime. However, moving like in different seasons, of course, there's not very many like people purchasing homes. There's not really waiving inspections, so having an inspection is always actually really good. But there are advantages and there are disadvantages, but your realtor should be very educated as well on that property, and it's how confident you feel, as well, when you want to waive your inspection or not. But again, it goes back to how many people are making offers on that home, and is it something that you really want, and you're just like, I want to buy this condo, and if it's waiving inspection, then that's what I'm going to do.
And just kind of continuing with that question, are there certain, if a pre-inspection is provided by their seller, are there certain things you should look for in that, or certain kind
That
of
would be discussed
verified
with
inspectors?
Right. That would be discussed with your real estate agent as well. They are really more familiar of the fact of the actual property itself. Any type of financing, down payment, and how much you need to bring in for funds to close, totally an expert on that. But with the inspection part of it, what to watch for, to be honest with you, when you do get an inspection, and an inspector is going to point out everything, they'll point out every little single thing, but the realtor will tell you this is the major issues or this is not the major issues. So if you like your inspection and there are little, let's just say, outlets that needed to be replaced, but that killed the deal, or it didn't kill the deal. So those are little things too. So you have to keep in mind what you really want to negotiate and what you're really looking for in the inspection. if there's like rodent issues, yeah, I mean, that's something that you would really want to look at. If so, also another thing is that an inspector is not a certified plumber. They're not certified roofers. They're not certified electricians. So if there are questions about that as well, the realtor will actually get a certified expert out there that handles roofs or electrical or plumbers out there, because inspectors are just inspecting and telling you, about the home itself, or condo. I apologize.
Yeah, well, thanks for that overview. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I am going to be moving on to the first time home buyer checklist. So oh, it's the same one actually. So I do apologize. I'm sure I probably went over this. Fax or email the purchase and sale agreement to your loan officer. That is not your duty to do that. The realtor and the loan officer are always in communication. So if there's an offer accepted, do not worry. We want less stress on you guys as home buyers. So you're more of getting all the financing done and all of the supporting documentation. Other than that, let the loan officer and the realtor work with each other, and we will make sure that we will get everything going on that part of it. Shopping for homeowners insurance now, it's a lot different, because if you're shopping for homeowners insurance, a condo is a lot different than purchasing a single family resident. Homeowners insurance policy is that usually what's nice about purchasing a condo is that the homeowners association has walls in coverage sometimes. Now, we don't know this all the time until you're actually in process of that. What that means is that the homeowners association, the condo itself, covers everything walls in. So you don't really need to get homeowners insurance, or HomeStreet doesn't need to verify homeowners insurance if that happens. But we do require you to get personal coverage for your personal items. So that would be something that you would want to get. However, but like I said, homeowners insurance, it may be required or may not be required. That's part of the loan or not, depending on if that condo covers walls in. Signing documents and closing, be prepared to sign closing documents a few days before closing date. So just to let you know, on your purchase and sale contract, if it says that you're closing on May 30th, you would be signing a couple days prior to the day that you sign is not the day that you close. You get your actual keys when the escrow company receives recording numbers. And when your deed of trust is recorded, that is when you actually get your keys. Typically, it could be 3 o'clock, it could be 5 o'clock. Sometimes it could be later in the day, depending on that county when they record. Week before closing, contact your loan officer to make sure they have the required documents. Your loan officer should be contacting you if we need required documents a week before closing. So I promise you, though, you'll always be in contact. If your good faith estimate indicated some out-of-pocket expenses, your escrow agent will notify you. Yes. So a few days before closing, when you actually sign, you're scheduling an appointment to sign your closing documents, as well as they're going to give you that final number of how much you need to bring. Typically escrow $500 or less, escrow says a personal check will be fine. Anything above 500 will require a cashier's check and or a wire. Due to a lot of wire fraud out there, I would probably be careful. Usually you can get wire information over the phone from that escrow company. So you may we'll coordinate all of that. If you do want to wire, we'll ask escrow on how they provide that instructions to you. And it says you'll need to provide a cashier's check to escrow when you sign. However, cashier's check or a wire. All right, moving on to the next one. Costs that await new homeowners. I'm going to actually read this off. It's a new slide for me. In all excitement of buying your first home, many forget about or don't know the expenses when they move in, which is true. So it's really, in reality, when you make your first mortgage payment and the next following year, you see that it has gone up, property taxes, because of because of the type of not just area, I apologize, every county is different. So if you purchased a home in King County versus you purchased a home in Pierce County, your property taxes are going to be a lot higher. Typically, they keep going up. So if your mortgage payment is going up, it's because of your property taxes are going up as well. Okay, your principal and interest payment will always stay the same, depending on if you lock your loan in on a 30-year fix. That will be your 30-year principal and interest payment all of the time. However, your homeowner's dues can change depending on assessments. Your property taxes can change depending on the county, as well as your homeowner's insurance if you've made claims or anything like that, or if they just basically got up. Okay, so keep in mind, you know, it's amazing. It's the most exciting thing when you purchase a home, but always keep in mind you do have additional expenses, as well as utilities. If you're renting now, more than likely, if you're renting an apartment, or if it's in a home and the owner covers water, sewer, garbage, sometimes cable, I'm not sure. You got to keep that into a factor as well too. So I'm old school. I still write everything down. Everybody always has an Excel format. Sometimes your computer can crash. That's why I always write things down. But when you're ready to buy a home, the first question is, what is your affordability and what can you pay in a mortgage payment in addition to all of the outside expenses as well as your monthly debt? So that's always something that you would like to keep in mind as well. All right, do we have any questions? I know I ramble on and I've got like 12 minutes.
Question we just got is, can you talk about PMI and any avenues to reduce that as soon as possible?
Sure. So PMI is basically private mortgage insurance. So when you don't put more than 20% down, you will be subject to private mortgage insurance. How's it determined? It's really determined based on your credit score. And the more you put down towards that 20%, the less that it would be. How do you get that removed? Typically within 7 to 10 years, it's more of contacting the loan servicing department, have them reanalyze your mortgage. If your original appraised value is 80% of your new loan amount, then typically it gets removed. How you get removed faster is pay down your balances. Typically always just pay down, you know, if you could apply additional towards your principal payment, that would always be best if you can. Okay. Anything there? Anything else on that?
Only question so far.
Okay. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to hurry up more into, because I know it's only an hour, and I do apologize. I like to talk. But if you have additional questions at the end of the slide, I'll have all of my information. Please email me, give me a call. I will be available to answer any questions. Again, going back to, I've already mentioned homeowners insurance, furnishing, hopefully that you have everything from your previous home putting into your new condo, and you know, repairs and maintenance, we've already talked about this. You know, these are things that when you own a home versus if you don't, owning a condo and you don't, these are maintenance you have to come up with. So you always want to make sure that you have reserves. When you go into purchasing a home, you always want to make sure that you have some sort of savings, so that if anything does end up breaking or not working, you're not utilizing more debt, that you've actually saved some cash for yourself so that you have the ability to pay for repairs or maintenance on your condo. And I'm going to move forward. So this is basically just the steps to successful home ownership. The first thing is attend a home buyer seminar, but like I said, I will direct you to that. If you need my guidance on that, consult with a loan officer. Finding a loan officer. Once you find a loan officer, then you apply for a mortgage. Once you apply for a mortgage, see what you're pre-approved for, then we will talk about consulting with a realtor, if not unless you have one already. After you consult with a realtor, you view properties, which is the fun part. So I'm kind of out of it. Once you find a property, you make an offer, you sign a contract, you get a home inspection, everything looks good. Your realtor connects with me and says, hey, home inspection went well. Let's order the appraisal. Let's get the title going. Let's submit their loan for final approval. You guys are approved. Then pretty much it's all of the loan side of things where we start working up your documents, we prep them, you guys sign, and then you get moved in. So I know that these steps 1 through 11 seems like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. However, we are all here to help you to take the successful steps to homeownership. Okay, so I already mentioned the Affinity benefits, which is fantastic. And again, thank you for attending. So if you have any questions, here is my information. If you're really ready and you just want to apply online, I put my link there as well. The benefits mentioned on this web page here, or the web link as well. But once again, I'm Jeanette Gill, and I'm hoping that I was able to answer all of your questions. I know I started off slow in the beginning, but now I rushed through, but I will be here to answer anything that you guys have. Now, do we have any questions?
Thanks so much, Jeanette. I'm
You're very
keeping
welcome.
an eye on the chat. There may be some virtual typing. See here, just some kudos, some thanks. Always lots of good information. I also want to add for everyone, we do have recorded a home kind of an introduction to home buying webinar with HomeStreet, as well as, off the top of my head, I know we have a few recorded webinars with you guys, and I'm sure we're going to get on the calendar soon about buying a home with down payment assistance is another great webinar HomeStreet offers. So I know there are some questions about that, and we can get that scheduled with the whole you. Stay tuned. I can send an email to anyone who's attended these webinars. And again, we're recording. We'll get you this link via email as well. Della, I see your hand is raised. I'm going to go ahead and let you ask your question.
Hi, thanks. So I was just curious, I don't know how well you can speak to this, but I'm wondering if in general, if someone's sort of deciding between continuing to rent apartments versus taking a step towards maybe buying a condo, are you able to speak at all to whether or not now, as in this year, or the upcoming year would be a good time versus, maybe waiting? I know you mentioned later in the season might be good, but I don't know if you have a sense of, in general, the condo market is maybe where you want to be or not where you want to be.
It's tough. Yeah, it's very tough. It's basically based on your finances as well. If you're ready to go out there and see what you're pre-approved for, because I don't want to sit there and say wait, and then if you wait, then you lost your opportunity now versus later. So that's kind of where I coach everybody and say it's your finances and your financial background, more of the market part of it. Yes, this is high demand right now during the springtime. And you had mentioned like season wise, I mean, it starts cooling down probably during the fall into winter. So if you kind of want to push that way, but again, because of we lost most of last year, it's really different this year. So every year is a lot different. It really depends on how our lifestyle is going to be as well. And it's unfortunate. I don't have a prediction on it. However, if it's more of you're just ready to stop paying rent and see what you're getting pre-approved for, let's just see what you can get at this time, and seasons may not make a difference at this time either.
Thanks. Yeah, so it sounds like even if you aren't quite sure what you want to do, you can go out and get pre-approved and just sort of browse a little bit without necessarily diving headlong into the process. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, you can get pre-qualified, see what you're actually pre-qualified for, instead of actually getting your credit pulled, just to kind of get a number from me. And then if I said, okay, yeah, looks like you're pre-qualified for, 400,000 with X amount down. So is this something that now you can go ahead and search out there and see if this is something that you want to do. Now, keep in mind, if you do find something and you haven't applied, and by the time you do apply, houses are pending within, like when you refresh on the computer, they're just pending within, hours or minutes. So sometimes if you really want to be ready, you do have to have a pre-approval. I did want to mention that. I'm sure that hopefully, most of you are still on the line, but you do have to have a pre-approval and a pre-approval letter to make an offer as well.
And I mean, it sounds like also we've heard this a few times from all of our HomeStreet presenters is if you're just interested in kind of figuring out where you're at and maybe you're not there yet, but you're not sure where you're at, just you can meet with a HomeStreet officer anytime. You could call Jeanette, you could email her, and you can just look at, here's my finances, here's my goals. And, maybe that means you reapproach it in a year. Maybe you're ready now. Sometimes it's hard to know till you kind of have that personal conversation.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Yeah, one more question is what is the average monthly due for condo? And I'm not sure if that's talking about HOA dues, if you're able to elaborate in the chat, or, obviously your monthly payment would be based on the cost of the condo. But Jeanette, if you want to speak to that.
So are they asking about HOA dues? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Homeowners dues.
Oh, how much are they roughly around? I apologize.
Monthly, yeah.
Oh, okay. So like I used for an example.
Average.
Oh, average. Let's just for $450. Let's just say that $450. If you really want a high range, downtown Seattle, more than likely $800. If you're staying within, say you go south more, I could be wrong because of the type of market, but if you found a $300,000 condo, it could be about $350 a month or, so forth. But there will not be any that I've seen less than $300 a month. I mean, you can find, let me give you another example really quickly. I had found a condo that was at like in a golf area, or I think it was called Glen Acres or something like that. The condo itself was only like $170,000. However, the dues were like $750 because you're in a private golf location. I mean, you can golf there anytime, basically, and they have a swimming pool, they have a barbecue area. So condos can be affordable, but the HOA dues, it's tough. It is tough. So when you actually are looking online and you're looking at condos, it will list on there how much the HOA dues are. So
yeah, and I know a lot of those apps, I think you can also filter based on, there's a lot of
absolutely
filtering options there, so that should help too.
Yeah.
And it looks like, we've got another question here. Do HomeStreet lenders have area specialties, Seattle versus East Side, et cetera? Kind of, how does it look like? Can you talk a little bit also when you answer this question is, what is that process of getting assigned a loan officer with HomeStreet?
So we're actually West Coast. So we go, I mean, from the entire state of Washington to Oregon or California, Hawaii. So regardless of if you're looking for a property in the Island County versus Bellevue, or you're going to Edmonds or Mukilteo or going all the way to Tacoma or Olympia, we specialize in the entire state. So we would be able to service you in all measures.
And what about the realtors that you partner with? If someone was interested in kind of doing the lending benefit, but also an in-network realtor benefit, do those typically span all across the area?
Yeah, so typically we have realtors that are specialized in all certain areas. We try to touch all of the different areas. However, there could be certain times, like I just mentioned Camano Island. I don't know if we have, or I'm sorry, Island County. I don't know if we have a specific realtor that will go out there, unfortunately. However, most common areas, but just let us know the areas of where you're looking to buy. But majority of the time, yes, we do have specific realtors that will help you in purchasing your home in those areas. So, but just let us know first, don't think, okay, that's in a different, across the water, a Bainbridge Island or anything like that, which we do have realtors out there too, but just let us know and we'll be glad to, let you know, and we'll find somebody for you.
Sounds good. All right, well, we are at 101. I'm not seeing any other questions pop through. Thanks for everyone who stuck around, and thanks so much, Jeanette. You're always just such a great wealth of information. We're glad to have you back. Last time I saw you was Wellness Week, which seems like years ago.
Yeah, right. I know.
So as I said, just for those who are on here, we'll go ahead and get you a recording. It might take about a week. And of course, Jeanette's information is there. Reach out if you have any questions, even if you're not, fully there. Maybe you have a particular situation she can help you with and get a little more specific questions in. All right. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much, Jeanette.